On today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at another big box. Today we're having a look at the Diamond Select Toys Marvel Select Sabretooth. Sabretooth, a special collector's edition action figure with highly detailed base. It's remarkable that Venom was advertised the same way. It didn't come with a base. Here, I can clearly see Sabretooth does come with a base if the base is inside. I see caution, do not enter. Looks like some sort of manhole cover. We'll get into that in a second. In the background where you may not see, there's some artwork from Sabretooth, or depicting Sabretooth. On the side, a retro picture of Sabretooth there. Turning around the back, you have the character up at the top, you see right there. Other characters you can pick up from the good folks at Diamond Select Toys. We have Wolverine and Marvel Girl. If you are interested in checking out things from Diamond Select Toys, you can go to www.diamondselecttoys.com. Read-up says, Wolverine is the best at what he does, but the savage mutant known as Sabretooth clearly enjoys testing that fact. Capable of incredibly sadistic acts of brutality and violence, Sabretooth's time in the Weapons Plus program left him with even more aggressive nature and a vendetta against Wolverine that would last for decades. How's that for a read-up? What I am going to do is, of course, take a break. I'm going to get this opened up. Certainly when we come back, we're going to get a better look at Sabretooth. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. So the first thing we'll have a look at for Sabretooth is actually the display base that he comes with. Something seems quite off in the fact that when you take the display base and you compare it to the picture of the display base that he comes with, you'll see that the display base has a whole lot more going on for it than what you actually end up getting. You can see that it's missing components. I can only imagine maybe is utilized from perhaps the other figures. Maybe the Wolverine accommodates some of those extra pieces, but it seems as if he is definitely missing parts. Which is alright for me because the base in the diagram actually seemed as if it was a little too busy. It looked like the top of the Ecto-1. There is a little sign piece. It says, Caution, do not enter. Department X, personnel only. And then aside from that, you've got just basically a silver base. There are a few component pieces that I've added, such as this piece right here. It just tabs into the back. It looked like a secondary cog or almost a mug. Maybe it's somebody's coffee mug. I've just snapped that into place as well. I suppose you could put it in other places too, but I mean really, the fact that there are only two pegs kind of indicates that where you should put Sabretooth. You put him right here. The display base, yes, it's just alright. I would be almost prone just to leave these pieces off and just get a flat base. Just a flat silver base with a couple pegs. That might be just fine for me. Anyways, putting that down. In comparison, really, to the Marvel Select Juggernaut, at least we get a display base. You know, of course, with him, we got this cardboard piece. But anyways, let's have a look at Sabretooth. Now, I feel like this figure is good, but I feel like the figure is almost missing pieces. I almost feel like he is incomplete. For starters, his face is very nice. It's got a very comic-inspired face to him. It's not super realistic, which I think is one of the good things I like about the face. He's got the white eyes, the Sabretooth-style teeth, and of course those big chops. Big old sideburn chops that he's got going on there. He is definitely sculpted very well. I mean, I look at a figure like this and it looks like something that would have been pulled right out of some of the video games that have included Sabretooth. He's just a really solid looking figure, and really actually really solid painted figure as well. He's also got his fur collar, carries over all the way around to the back. That's sculpted nicely as well. Also painted really nicely. The body as a whole utilizes the orange, almost like an orange yellow, and then we've got a reddish brown in the center as well as on the shoulders. Another point that I really like is the fact that it seems like it's just not utilizing one color, it actually utilizes several. So even when we look at things like the legs you'll see that it is that golden yellow, and then there's a wash of the brown over top, that tannish brown. Just all of it to bring out some of the details in the figure. You've also got these stripes on the side there. And of course he's got his Sabretooth's mammoth-sized hands, the claws, and of course he's got his elbow, pointed elbow blades, or whatever you would like to call those. As a whole, the figure on a sculpt level works well. Where you start getting into, unfortunately, the problems of the figure, well, there's somewhat problems that are hard to overlook. For starters, even though he has a really done well upper torso, unfortunately with Sabretooth, he has no articulation to speak of aside from what's in the arms and what's in the head. The whole torso piece has absolutely no articulation to speak of. It is one solid piece. Now, in comparison to what we've gotten in the past, or really now from Marvel Select figures, even things such as a ball-jointed upper torso almost would have been something we would have come to expect. Unfortunately, Sabretooth does not have that. He is just one solid piece. It also means that he is always lunging forward. Due to the sculpt and the way that the back is arched, also the positioning of the head and where the arms are located, Sabretooth always will have this arched forward position. It would have been one thing I would have preferred, maybe some sort of crunch, some sort of way to maybe raise the torso up, or maybe even a swivel, even if this was a ball-jointed piece where you could swivel the upper torso from itself, would have really helped with this figure. Again, sadly, he's always going to be hunched forward. The legs, I feel as if they're almost too short. Now, I understand that they would keep the legs short to add to the mass bulk going on in his upper torso, but I almost feel like with his legs, I feel as if he's too short, a little too stocky down below. And again, Spot understands that with the design of Sabretooth's always been a lot larger in the upper torso than he has been lower-legged, just to give him that real mammoth, towering presence to himself. The legs, though, could have been just a little bit longer to offset some of this figure. Even though he is a large figure, the legs almost make him feel short and stumpy, even though necessarily that's not the case at all. One other problem that I have with the figure is, unfortunately, due to where the legs are located, his legs are so large, and also where they're located, you can swivel the legs back and forth, but unfortunately, they're not going to go too much further back than where his buttocks is. So unfortunately, you're always going to, again, have him leaning forward. I also have a bit of an issue when it comes to the legs. As Spot indicated, the legs swivel out. They do bend out also. There's a hinge right here, but there is so much obstruction with these legs that to get really any movement out of them, aside from an awkward swivel out, it becomes a little problematic. Now, there is a joint. Spot's very careful to not bend it out too much that this may break off on me. But as you can see, it's extremely, extremely stiff to have that leg move. And I almost feel, again, as if he's almost built to the point where you can't move his legs too much, aside from moving them out. Very similar to what we would have gotten with some earlier designed figures. His legs do rotate and easily bend at the knee. That's no real problem there, and he's got the hinge in the foot. But unfortunately, getting him aside from some really cool lunged forward positions, you can't really do too much from a more upright position. He looks much better posed down, and that's essentially what you're going to be subjected to do with this figure. That's not to say, it is not to say that Spot does not like this figure. I love Sabretooth. To get this figure is done really well, but I feel like things such as his legs just seem a bit of a hindrance. Also, the idea of having an upper torso swivel or something in the upper torso where he wasn't always lunged forward would have been a nice treat as well. In the way of his articulation, Sabretooth's head is on a ball joint. It moves up and down and left and right. As for his arms, the arms move out, in and out, rotate back and forth. He does have a rotation and bend at the elbow. He does have a rotation and hinge in the hand. When you get to the torso, he only swivels at the lower waist, and as Spot indicated before, he's got the hinge going on in the leg here. You can see right here, where I suppose if you wanted to and make it look awkward, you could try to rotate that hinge forward to bend the leg forward, but it is going to look off. It is going to look off. Again, the bend in the knee, rotation in the lower leg, and bend in the foot. It's one of those figures that overall it's done very, very well. I just wish as if the figure itself could have had other elements to it to give us a little more flexibility with what we could actually do with the figure. I love having a hunched over Sabretooth, but having just a little bit of extra articulation in the upper torso would have certainly helped. And I feel as if the legs, even if they were just slightly further out, further away from the torso, the small underoos of the figure, perhaps you might get a little more posability out of the figure than what we can get now. As a Marvel Legends fan, I'd say this figure is definitely a really neat pickup. Unfortunately, just overlooks some, I don't even want to say shortcomings, but overlooks to the fact that figures such as this are going to be posed in pretty much a way that you may likely pose anyways, but I feel as if the figure could have had options, just a little more in the way of options. On a sculpt, I love what they've done with the figure. Paint is done really solid as well. Marvel Select Sabretooth, I'm going to give him an 8. Today's toy spot, we were having a look at the Diamond Select Toys Marvel Select Sabretooth. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.